Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. First of all, I want to welcome the mayor, Bob Buckhorn, County Commission Chairman Ken Hagan, Santiago Corrada, the newly minted CEO of, I might get the name wrong, Visit Tampa Bay, the old Tampa Bay Company, Visit Tampa Bay, and Rick Homans, the EDC chairman for Hillsborough County. The purpose of today is to reveal the economic impact from the 2012 Republican National Convention. Beyond just the economic impact, the convention also did three other things. The first thing was that it really put Tampa on the world stage, unlike it had ever been on the world stage before. So it really showcased everything that the city had to offer, from the venues and the great weather, except for the first day, and then all the great restaurants, the beaches, everything that we had to offer. The second thing that it did was it really showed Tampa as the viable option for future big events. I think we've seen that a little bit with Bollywood. I think Santiago can probably give you some more color on other people that are looking at coming to Tampa. And the third and most important thing was it infused hundreds of millions of dollars into the local economy, and not just Hillsborough County. It was Pinellas County, it was Polk County, it was Pasco, Hernando. It was really essentially what we'll call the super region, the 8-county area. And today we want to talk a little bit more about how we developed, what the economic impact report looks like, and what it says. So there were 4 major areas of spending that we focused on as we drafted the impact report. One was the Host Committee, which was the main organization that was responsible for raising the money and spending it locally. The second group was the City of Tampa. As you all know, the City of Tampa got approximately $50 million grant from the federal government. Those numbers are also factored into this report. The third area was the Committee on Arrangements. That was the division of the RNC responsible for putting on what we'll call the show. And the fourth area were corporations, AT&T, Bright House, Verizon, Motorola, a lot of other third-party companies that spent hundreds of millions of dollars in the area to get the area ready to put the show on. The study we conducted was done by the University of Tampa, Sykes College of Business. Dr. Brian Kench put the study together. We used an economic model called the IMPLAN model. The gold standard for econometric analysis is the IMPLAN model. It's hard to fudge the numbers. You take the data that you know is reported publicly, you put it into the model, and it comes up with a number. So the total direct spending number for the 2012 RNC was $212 million that was spent by those entities. The induced and implied amount was $404 million. We did take into account negative substitution effects because to the extent that you have no excess capacity and you're simply substituting the same capacity, that's not real economic impact. So we had to take into account a negative substitution effect, and then we also had to discount back some of that third-party direct spending. So for instance, if AT&T put in a directed antenna system into the forum, they might have sourced some of that locally, they might have used local workers, but some of that might have been bought in Virginia and brought down to Florida. So we had to scale back that number, and that's all detailed in the report. We tried to come up with a very intellectually honest number. This was not just throw a big number out and see if we can backpedal it. We came up with a very, very good analysis. We used a professional economist from UT. So I think the number is an accurate number. It's supported by facts. It's supported by our IMPLAN model. And it was great for Tampa Bay. The number was better than we could have expected. I think we initially said we thought it would be 175 to 200 million. It ended up being 212 million, and the ultimate impact was 404 million. So with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to Santiago Corrada, who's the CEO of Visit Tampa Bay. He's going to have a few more comments, and then I think we're all going to come back up here at the end and answer some questions to the extent that you have any. So thank you very much. Santiago? Thanks.
Well, good afternoon. Ken has mentioned the over $400 million impact to our area. It is the most significant convention conference that we've ever hosted, and it's a resume builder. Bollywood was mentioned. When you can add a Republican convention to your docket, that speaks volumes for other large international organizations wanting to come to our destination. We saw $125 million economic impact even before the convention with the technology infrastructure upgrades that were put into place by AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, Tico, and Bright House. Those are all permanent upgrades that remain here to this day and make us an attractive destination for other conventions and large-scale events. Obviously, the hospitality industry saw the economic impact firsthand. Unheard of to have 50,000 visitors in our destination during the month of August, and that's exactly what we saw during the convention. Over 10,000 VIPs, 6,000 delegates, 92% occupancy rate in our hotels, which is a 60% increase from the previous year. In fact, it skews our numbers now all the time because we want to compare ourselves to that year, and that's almost impossible because of the impact of the visitation we had that year. And obviously, we like to survey attitude and perception about our destination. And prior to the convention happening, we did just that, and we found that there was a 46% positive view of the area by individuals coming to the destination. And just a week later, when we resurveyed, we found an 89% positive view of our destination. So we were incredibly successful in really showing the world and obviously our guests, our visitors that year, all that we had to offer. And again, it's paying dividends. When we just made a pitch for Bollywood in China, and we mentioned the Republican National Convention, it's an eye-opener, because if we can host something of that magnitude, then obviously we can host something of the magnitude of a Bollywood Academy Awards, which is another game changer for us. So again, we were extremely successful. The economic impact speaks for itself, and obviously the impact to our hospitality industry is long-lasting. Thank you so much. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Rick Homans, who is the president and CEO of the Tampa Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation. Rick?
Good afternoon. I just want to add briefly another dimension to the conversation, focus on 4 different points where we felt a tremendous impact from the RNC. Number 1 is the tangible media global exposure that we had during the event, before and after as well. 15,000 media camped out right here in the convention center. Nearly 10 billion media impressions globally, top-of-mind awareness about Tampa, Tampa Bay, Hillsborough County. And we were able to coordinate with Visit Tampa Bay a tour for Mayor Buckhorn of media outlets in New York City and Washington to talk business prior to the convention that resulted in 82 million media impressions, including Fox News, Bloomberg TV, and the Washington Times. Number 2 is the convention gave us the opportunity with Visit Tampa Bay, with the Tampa Bay Partnership, to target customers, to bring them here just prior to the convention, give them a behind-the-scenes tour, an exclusive insider look. It was good to help us build our customer base. Number 3 is the regional collaboration that took place. We all realized, the business and tourism groups before the RNC, that there was no way that any of us could do this on our own, that the only way to succeed was to work together as a unified community. So we did. Visit Tampa Bay, the Chamber, the EDC, Tampa Bay Partnership, St. Pete Clearwater, the St. Pete Chamber of Commerce. We all worked together, and very successfully. The important thing is those relationships have endured to this day and have created platforms and opportunities for us to continue working together on regional initiatives. Finally, and I think most important, is the positioning of this community. What the RNC did was they positioned Tampa, Hillsborough County, Tampa Bay as a top 20 metro area, as a place that can handle big and complicated events, but not only events, companies, big companies that could move here and know that this is a community that has the workforce, it has the talent, it has the sophistication to handle what they need to get done. We looked extremely polished in the national and the international spotlight. Positioning is huge in economic development, and the RNC positioned Tampa Bay as a major economic player. The success that we've had since the RNC, Bristol-Myers Squibb, Copa, Edelweiss, Bollywood, Amazon, and our pipeline right now is more full than it's been in the past decade. I think these things are related to one another. They're related to the positioning of this community, and they create the platforms for success. So we were pleased to be a part of this. We look at the RNC as an unmitigated, unquestionable success from an economic development standpoint, and we're going to be reaping the rewards of it for many years to come. It's my pleasure now to introduce the chairman of our county commission, Mr. Ken Hagan.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to be here to share in Tampa Bay's successful 2012 Republican National Convention. This historic event provided us an opportunity to showcase our community and really display what our residents already know, and that is that we live in a remarkably special place that is a must-see destination. As chair of our Tourist Development Council and as someone who has worked on nearly every major convention bid, I felt confident that we were prepared to host the largest convention that we've ever held. However, to be honest, the Republican National Convention exceeded all of my expectations. I think nearly every metric that you considered, the RNC was an enormous success. And this was due in large part to the unprecedented level of cooperation in showcasing Tampa Bay on the world stage. Affiliations, labels, city, county, Republican, Democrat, Independent, it didn't matter. We were one community. Hillsborough County and the city of Tampa worked seamlessly together like never before. And this is due to the leadership of our mayor, Bob Buckhorn. On every aspect, from welcoming delegates to maintaining the safety and security of the convention itself, the city and county worked hand in glove. Another area that this was evidenced by is in the cadre of volunteers who worked tirelessly to welcome our guests with open arms and to showcase the melting pot of diversity and culture known as Tampa Bay. The RNC was the largest and most significant event that we've ever hosted. So it was decided early on that we wanted to leverage this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and take advantage of the marketing and promotional opportunities, both in advance of the event, and Rick mentioned some of them. We had, for the entire month of last August, there were 10 to 15 page spreads in U.S. Air, Southwest Air magazines. We had tours with all the major newspapers. Mayor Buckhorn did a media tour in New York. But also during the convention week itself, we had an unbelievable welcome event at Tropicana Field. Over 20,000 delegates, members of the media, local guests had a fantastic time there. Nearly 4,600 volunteers greeted our guests from Tampa International Airport all the way to Tampa Bay Times Forum. We had various social media initiatives, including Frontline Tampa Bay, and over 500 local businesses participated in our Small Business Network program. Our guests, as well as those watching on TV, not only saw a region that is welcoming, but is also open for business. Economically, the RNC could not have occurred at a better time. August is typically a very slow month for our hospitality and tourism efforts. So this convention provided a tremendous boost to our hotels, attractions, our local tourism partners, as well as our small business community. As Ken indicated, the pre-convention economic impact estimates were in the $175 million range. Shortly after the RNC, we learned of the record bed tax collections in Hillsborough and Pinellas counties as a result of the RNC. As Santiago indicated, the awareness and public perception of the Bay Area skyrocketed. So I'm not surprised to hear that when you incorporate the direct and indirect impacts, that the overall economic impact to the Tampa Bay area eclipsed $400 million. I believe that the historic opportunity that we had will continue to pay dividends for years to come. As a result of the corporate recruitment and increased tourism and convention business, which will occur as a result of the worldwide exposure generated from this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, I believe the long-term economic benefits will far outweigh the short-term economic impact. Together, we set out to show the best of Tampa Bay's businesses, cultural attractions, and local amenities. The message we delivered loud and clear is that we are authentic, we are exciting, and we want you to come back again. Lastly, I want to give a special thank you to my good friend Ken Jones for all of his hard work and tireless efforts in fundraising and promoting the RNC. This gentleman was traveling across the country, fundraising, promoting our convention here, while at the same time holding down his regular job. Were not for his hard work, this convention never would have occurred. So Ken, great job. And now it's my pleasure to introduce to you my good friend, Mayor Bob Buckhorn.
You know, it was just over a year ago, right about this time, on a day that looked a lot like this, that I stood in this very room and was doing an interview with Bloomberg Television. And I thought back at that particular moment, and for me, it was almost like the kickoff or the beginning of an athletic event. You have those butterflies in your stomach, and you know how hard the city has trained. You know how much work folks like Al Austin, Robert Watkins, and Don DeFawcett, and Dick Beard, and Bob Gramick have put into this moment. And you knew with certainty that this was a pivotal moment for this community. You knew that how we performed on that international stage was going to determine for probably decades to come what the world thought of us. This was our introduction to the international stage in ways that I'm sure 40 years ago, 20 years ago, even 5 years ago, we never would have imagined that we would be in a position to do. And I'm sure that there were some in this country who weren't sure that we could do it. I'm sure there were some folks who said this was the first time since 1972 that a convention had been hosted in Florida, that we were a mid-sized American market, that perhaps we weren't up for this, that how possibly could Tampa, Florida pull this off? Well, let me tell you something. I have never been prouder of this community as I was that week. Democrat or Republican, young or old, Hillsborough or Pinellas, black, white, Hispanic, gay, straight, partisan or apolitical. They understood very clearly that this event wasn't a partisan event, that this event was about us, about what we've become, and more importantly, what we will be down the road. This community pulled together like it has never pulled together before. And in the face of a hurricane, with 15,000 members of the media watching, the second most viewed television event in the entire world, this city stood up and said in no uncertain terms, we're not asking for permission anymore. We can do anything we set our mind to and do it better than anybody. And we did it. We absolutely did it. And because of the hard work of the committee and folks like Al, who had this dream for 2 decades that we could do this, and Jane Castor and David G., and the solid waste workers and the code enforcement workers and the thousands of volunteers that said hello to people when they arrived here and said goodbye to them when they left, to the restaurateurs who said, we're proud that we're from Tampa Bay. We want to tell you our story because our story is a great story. And when you leave this community, we want you to go away saying that is a great American city. And those folks can put on a convention and do it better than anybody. And that's exactly what we did. The economic impact was big. But more importantly, what it said about us is that if we put our mind to it, there is nothing that can get in our way. And so on that gloomy day, just like this, I knew it was our turn. And it's not going to stop now. That was just the beginning. Our tomorrows begin today. And the RNC was a validation of what this community can accomplish if it puts its mind to it. So we can't rest on our laurels now. We got to do more. We got to do bigger. We got to do it more often. We got to do it better. And at the end of this, Al, as you and I talked about, this city will be a very different place. Because of an event like this, and as well as we did it, our future is very bright. Thank you to everyone that was involved in this. You made the community proud. Now, what's next? Thanks.